Hi and welcome to Tech for Everyone. My name's Mike and today we're going to be looking at some Canon DSLRs. The choice out there is huge and when coming to buy your first DSLR it's a difficult choice. So what we have here are some of the cameras that we have amongst our inventory. First off, entry level Canon EOS 600D. It's a nice little small camera, has most of the features that you would need for taking photos. We also have the Canon EOS 60D, which is the big brother to this one. As you can see in the video, it does get slightly bigger, and we've also got a bigger lens on this one. And then finally, we've got the Canon 7D, which is their top of the range APS-C DSLR camera. And this video is being recorded on the big daddy of them all, the Canon 5D Mark III. What we're going to try and do today here in the New Forest is do some tests to see which of these three cameras is best in certain situations, and is there a noticeable difference for you out there looking to buy one of these cameras. Okay, so let's start off with some initial comparisons as to what the obvious differences between these three cameras are. We'll leave the 5D Mark III out of it. We're going to use that as a reference point to show what you get when you spend the big bucks on a camera. So first off, we've got the 60D here. It is quite a small camera, and if you've got big hands like me, gripping it can be a little awkward. Whereas if you move up to the 60D here, it's much bigger and it feels much more comfortable in the hands. Now, looking at the two cameras, they both have the flip out screen, articulating screen, which makes it very easy, especially for filming video. They both film the same resolutions in video, so you've got full 1080 HD video with 50 frames a second, 25 frames a second and 24, I think. We're going to go through the full specifications of these cameras when we're back with the spec sheets in front of us so you can see the exact differences. Today is more about looking at what those differences actually mean in real terms. The other upgrade that the 60D has over the 600D, which is pretty obvious at first look, is the top screen, which is very handy when checking your settings. You don't have to use the on-screen display. And it also has a lock on the dial, so you can't accidentally move this circular dial for all the settings at the top. And on first look, that is the major differences just looking at the cameras. There's obviously a few internal differences between the focusing system used in this camera as opposed to this one, and we'll go through that in more detail back in the studio. So then when you move up from the 60D to the 7D, they're pretty much the same size. The grip on the 7D is just slightly wider, and that is absolutely perfect for me to grip, but there's not much wrong with this one either. But if you look on the back, you will see the 7D doesn't have the articulating screen, which for video is a bit of a pain, especially as this camera is a bit more expensive than this one. And if you look at them again, they both have the top screen. The buttons are pretty much identical. The 7D doesn't have the lock-in switch on the dial there, but I don't particularly find that a problem. And right on the back, I don't know if you can see this, we'll show you it better in the studio. The 7D has a special camera mode. Just by flicking a switch here, you can switch between camera and video straight away. Now, inside the 7D, there's a lot of differences, especially for photo. The autofocusing system in this is much higher level, and you're going to get better photographs out of this, we would assume. We will be testing them to see if that actually rings true. And the other thing about the 7D is that it is fully weather sealed, which can be very important, especially if you're going to be out and about when you're doing your videos. Okay, so here we are in the New Forest. This is our first test of the video modes of these three cameras. This is the Canon 600D. This is just a nice bright light test, so we see what the difference is in nice bright circumstances. We've got these cameras are all going to be set to the same settings. This is f16 and we have a shutter speed of 1/60th, and we've got the ISO set to auto for all these tests. And you should be able to see quite far into the background here, nice and sharp. Hopefully when we get this back on the computer, it'll be all pinpoint and nice and well exposed. Hi, so this is the Canon 60D take 2 a few hours later. Note to Canon, it would be handy to have on the display somewhere what video mode you're shooting in, because sometimes dozy cameramen forget to put it back from 720p to 1080p. So the light might be slightly different here, but hopefully it should still give a good representation of the difference or no difference between all the cameras. So one thing to note with the DSLR, if it's your first purchase, it's unlikely the camera is going to have an autofocus mode for video, although there is a new Canon coming out with that feature very soon. So you do need to focus manually, and hopefully Gary's got me nice and sharp in focus on this, so it's a good test. Okay, so to round off, we're back on the 5D Mark III, which is the beast in the Canon range. We decided for the point of this, there's no point comparing the 5D Mark III directly with the others with the same lens. One good reason for that is the lens we were using on the previous 3 little clips was an EFS lens designed for APS-C cameras, and the lens we have on this is the L series 24-70 lens. And if you're spending £3 on a DSLR, you're not going to use one of the cheap kit lenses with it. So to keep it realistic, we've left the L series lens on this one, and fingers crossed, because I bought this camera out of my own personal money, there's a bit of a difference. I know there is for pictures, but it'll be interesting to see what the difference is on the video, because I haven't really used this camera much for video yet. Hi and welcome back. We're now down in Newton's Cove in Weymouth doing some more video tests on the Canon DSLRs we have at our disposal. This video is being shot on the Canon 60D, and we've set it at f11, so we should have a nice sharp overall image, and we're going to crop into these videos so that we can see the detail a bit more in close-up. So next time you see me, we'll be on one of the other cameras that we've got here in our bag. Okay, so this is the 600D, back to the cheapest camera that we have at our disposal at the moment. And just keep having to point out, this camera is so much more fiddly to operate than the other cameras. It takes much longer to set it up for all the different shots. Okay, so this is the 7D, and this one is just as easy to set up as the 60D. One thing this camera doesn't have straight out of the box, though newer versions may have it because there's a new firmware update, is manual audio levels. We haven't got that firmware update on this one yet, so the sound is a bit more tricky to get exactly right. But one thing this does have, it's the first camera that has custom function buttons on the top dial, which means you can set up to 3 different settings on there that you can store in memory, so you can access them very quickly, and that's pretty easy to do, and it's a really welcome feature.